Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop with Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Bobby.
They want NWA? Let's give them NWA.
Who are those guys?
And then there's the other guys.
We're the other guys. We're the guys nobody ever bets on.
The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
It's time for the Other Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts, Tim, Dave, and Jeremy.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And what can we tell you? It's your boys, Timmy and Dave. We don't know where Jeremy is, but hopefully he'll be along soon. We're the Other Alliance Guys, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for number one for news and information around the National Wrestling Alliance, the United Wrestling Network, and also things like MLW and various independents around the world. We hope that you guys are having a great day, and I see lots of people in the chat. Thank you all for being here. We'll get to you guys in a sec. Willie has given us way too much information about what his pleasures in life are, but, you know, teach their own, Willie. I'm with you, brother. What are we going to talk about today, Dave? We've got a new era in the NWA following NWA 75. And that we can talk about with all these fine people in the chat and what we think of the new presentation, what else we'd like to see. Steve G's here, love the new NWA lighting. We're going to get into all this stuff, and like what the good, the bad, and the ugly are for this new era of the NWA, this EC3 era, yeah.
Yep.
Will it last? Or will the booking improve along with the production value? I think that's going to be one of the big questions. Dave's going to talk about Major League Wrestling and the Fury Road pay-per-view that he went and saw, has some thoughts on and results for. I'm sure Jeremy's going to be here to talk about the UWN and a really interesting post that we're just frankly going to speculate on from Mr. David Marquez about crowdfunding. It should be really interesting. Dave's going to anchor the show like he always does, with a really fun fantasy booking around what they're going to do with the one time, the Brickhouse Camille, and what his thoughts are, where she goes from here. But everybody's already talking about Power already, so maybe, Dave, we just jump right into that.
Okay.
Willie's saying Power was great last night. Doty's saying at least we now have a world champion that wrestles, and Jay put up in our Discord that the best thing about this upcoming pay-per-view in October, Dave, is that by the time we get there with the bookings that EC3 already has, he'll have defended the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship as many times as Tyrus did during his entire reign.
Man.
It's crazy. I mean, for me, and I think for you too, the NWA World title is best defined by a traveling champion. And
yeah.
It looks like we're going to get that.
I am glad that he will be defending the title, and I don't know if you listened to Busted Open this morning. They had Al Snow of Ohio Valley Wrestling, owner-operator, and he mentioned EC3 wrestling in OVW and him winning the NWA championship. So if they do
Yeah. And I think they're going to present him that way down there, right? As the NWA World Champion.
Yeah.
Should be good. Who do we got here? So we mentioned Steve G's here. A lot of Hooters talk, some Chick-fil-A talk going on. James Bell's here. Willie's here. Demonetized Mike is here. So yeah, man, let's talk about it. What did we think of the new presentation? Sound off in the chat from the new Rosville's here. Hey Rosville. What did we think of the new presentation overall? We can go through it and maybe kind of wrap it up, Dave, in the end. What did you think of, and you guys in the chat too, what did you guys think of the opening package to the show that we previously seen on YouTube? It was like a minute and a half or so of the new era of the NWA. It's voiced over by Joe Galley and started off the show to kind of give us the tone for the evening. What did you think of that video, Dave?
I thought it was a good reintroduction to the quote-unquote new era of the NWA. But then when they went from that into the actual opening, there was just a lot of duplication of video. It's one of these things that to be used as a high video, don't use it as your opening video as well. It's just a lot of repetition. But I mean, overall, it was a slick production and the value looked good. And I liked the lighting. The only thing I really didn't like of the new power was lack of crowd shots. You heard them, but you didn't see them. And I'd like to see the reaction of the crowd to the wrestlers.
Yeah.
The wrestlers. So, I mean, it's something that hopefully they'll make adjustments as they do tapings down the line. But overall, I mean, I'd give it probably a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I really liked what you said about, you've got that as as a hype video. Don't use it as your opening. Like you could have done something similar but different. Mandy's here and says, I like the way they're back to a studio look again. Me too. Although to your point too, Dave, like you couldn't see the crowd. They're no longer angled around two sides of the ring. They're just at the one side and off camera. And back in the Georgia studios in the earlier days of Power, you could see them. You could see Sandoval in the front row, right? So it's definitely different. Rosville says, I'll come back, Mike. I forgot to read yours. The video intro things were good, but he agrees with you on it. Don't use it as a hype video use it as a hype video, but don't use it as your opening video. D Money Mike, love the new set lights. Looks like a Twitch stream with deep production. Vignette is shown on camera. Looks fine. Matches are a different story. Yeah, we'll talk about that as we go along here too. Rosville points out the crowd was hyped. That was nice. It seemed like in-ring wise, things were in line to make some sense. Jay's here. Hey, boss. And Willie didn't like the Brady versus Rolando match. We'll talk about just those at the end here. I thought the one strange thing that came up beginning early in the show, not bad, just different, was Dave the rundown of the matches. It was very much a, those old radio spots where they'd go Sunday, monster trucks, funny cars at your local, insert speedway here, right? It sounded like that, on today's episode, you'll watch the Immortals and they'll take on. They showed you the whole card up front with Kyle Davis's voice over top rather than the announcers talking about it. What did you think about that change?
It was a different approach. I'm going to give it some time. They're making modifications, so we'll see where it goes. It's something different. I am glad that they brought back the podium interviews. Either do that or actually have Kyle jump in the ring and interview some of the guys or the ladies after the match. But it's
Yeah.
it's if they make adjustments, it's only a couple weeks away. That we what 6.
Yeah.
Hopefully 8 weeks at the most, that they can make adjustments, and it won't be a full 3 months of everything's in the can and we can't change it.
That's true. It would be helpful if that change comes. That Brady versus Rolando match Willie mentioned, and no one likes Rolando Willie. That should have been, before I forget. Like the Alliance guys will be talking about. I'm sure they'll be running down the first Power. I'm sure tomorrow night. So I won't get into match results and everything like that. This is just a general overview. But that should have been, I'm just going to say right now, a 2-minute match. Rolando jumps in the ring, slaps Brady Pierce. You ruined a good thing, and it should have just been. I was sitting there with Raluca, just going, just destroy him. The idea.
It should have been 2-3 minutes at most. Just crush him.
I mean, what was the purpose of that match, right? It was to separate Brady Pierce from the Spectaculars, and give him a leg up on his own. So just pick him up, slam him down 4 or 5 times, do some suplexes, do your finisher, over. Like, that's how you make Brady Pierce look good in that situation. Rolando it doesn't matter. He can be the scrappy dog, doesn't have to win. This thing didn't have to go on 7-8 minutes. Paladin's here. Corgan makes it a point to say that Rolando is signed to the NWA. Yeah, and it's fine. I don't have anything against Rolando personally. I just think his role is not to go 7 minutes with Brady Pierce, who I stood beside at 75, and he's taller than me, and I'm 6'4". So, like, it's just crazy. Mandy's asking what happened to Jay Bradley. Nothing, as far as I understand. Just wasn't in that match on Power. Kind of back to the overall presentation. Dave, you mentioned the podium interviews. I love that Kyle Davis is in front of the screen now, talking to the guys. It was nice to see that studio environment, like Mandy mentioned, with the flags coming down. And by the way, the right flags were used, I thought. Like everything that's on the 10 pounds of gold plus the Mongrovian flag. I thought that was nice to see. What did you think of Sam Laterna, who I know you saw previous in MLW, which I'm sure she's still a presenter? But in comparison to Mae Valentine, how do you think she stacks up? And is she an improvement, the same, or something of a letdown?
Very good job of interviewing, and what Sam does is just present the question. Sam is very, very, how should I say? She's there, but she's not. She's basically a microphone stand asking a question. She's not involved storyline with anybody. Mae does a good job, but Mae is too involved due to the storylines that she's had with Sal, Royce, and with Aaron Stevens. So it's almost distracting having Mae there, because even though she may not be in a storyline while interviewing certain wrestlers, you're always thinking back in your head, what's going on with that old storyline? Sam is there, but like I said, Sam is just a microphone stand. That she asks the questions, gets the answers, and now back to action. So I like what Sam I like what May does, but May being absent, it's one of those things of absent makes the heart grow fonder, and not involved in interviewing. When she does come back, it'll be a welcome back rather than what happened to you.
Yeah, I think I know exactly what you're saying, and I look at it as I really liked May. I like her on social media. I like what she stands for and represents out there, and the messages that she's putting out, very positive. And she really grew as an interviewer. Who was it here? Rosville said, she kind of became NWA, and she's sort of the standard of the Lightning One interviewer era right now. But because of the way that she looks and because of the storylines you mentioned, she eats up some of that screen energy. And you're right, Sam Laterna, I think you mean it in a very good way. She's a microphone stand. She stands there and she asks the question directly. And, she doesn't eat up the screen. Mm-hmm. The wrestlers, the talent who are the focus are eating all that energy up. And I think that's a really nice change. Paladin likes her. She's better looking, and I think that's a valid point. Mike thinks she's an improvement. As I say, Rosville mentioned she's good. Steve thought that May Valentine was a much better interviewer. And Jay points out from before that Jay Bradley, he was there for the tapings, where of course Jay was just wrestled in a different match. I'm a simple man. Hey, no judgments. What did you guys think? You Dave as well about there's a small thing, but the 15-second commercials. Danny Deals was like, I have 15 seconds. I paid for this. Buy cozies, buy hats, and then he was cut off. I think for me, it felt like I knew what they were going for, but maybe just didn't quite get there.
Yeah, it was almost like you said, like the monster trucks. It's just, hey, we want to get your attention for this. Hey, we've got this. Buy it now. Boom, we're gone. I think one of the things of like little TikTok things where it's 60 seconds or less, where less is more, where you don't get lost. It's just, hey, we're going to cram as much as we can into these 15 or 20 seconds. Here it is. Boom. Now back to our programming.
Yeah. I think you're right. James calls it 15 seconds of wasted time. There used to be, I'm from Toronto, and we had SCTV up here. A lot of famous comedians came from there from the 80s. And, they used to have these commercials on their television program, which, it was presented as a TV show, like within your TV show. And there was always like a guy whose commercials just kept getting shorter and shorter and shorter till he had like 15 seconds left, and then 10, and then 5. Like the station kept cutting it. And he'd end up with a 3-second commercial where he'd had to scream at you. And it kind of reminded me of that. So there's a funniness to it. There's a humor to it, but I don't know if it really connected or did anything other than make me laugh at Danny Deals. What did you think of Galley and Deals together? Then I'll put some chat comments up here. What did you think of them as a commentary team for the first show?
It adds a different aspect, being that Danny's been dealing with wrestling back in TNA days and even before. He's a utility player, but he adds a different aspect in that he's a manager. Sometimes he tries to play the funny role. Sometimes he tries to be serious. But it's one of these things that I had seen online. Somebody was like, well, Danny's running the commentary crew. Why isn't he dressed up as a commentator? Well, thing. He's not going to change for anybody. He's filling a role that was forced upon him due to the fact that Tim had to go back and teach school, and I'm not sure what happened to Velvet, but it would have been a very long taping session for Joe to be on his own. I actually like Danny. They play well off of each other, and he gives a different aspect. He's not just, oh, I'm a former wrestler, or I'm a good guy, or I'm a bad guy. Of all of the above. He's done a little bit of wrestling game, so he has a different idea about what's going on in the ring. Play by play. He calls the match, been in the ring, whereas Joe is the play-by-play announcer. So it's one of those things that I have no problem with it. It's just it's different, and different can be good.
I wondered if it was a matter of I liked Danny Deals, he was a good commentator, or it was just refreshing for me to see something different other than what we've been presented. I don't know the answer yet. I think a lot of these questions today are like, what did we like and what didn't we like, are going to be solved over the weeks ahead. I think we'll all kind of generally come to our own opinions how they turn out. Some questions up here in the chat. Dodie wondered if when May returns, will Sam be done or will she get another role? I hope she stays on. I think she's good. And, you know, that I know Dave meant it well, the microphone stand. And I think she can be a valuable addition to the NWA without, you know, as I said, kind of eating up the screen a little bit. So Paladin in his, I say this with a smile, with his charming way. I love you, Paladin. You know, what happened with Velvet? Jay, if you're out there, because she was at 75, and then I guess she's not at the tapings, or maybe you can comment on that. I don't know. Mike is yelling about how the NWA is like the shipping office for merch is 4 hours from his house, and then it took them a month to get his stuff. Mandy says Danny's mellow and funny, which plays off nicely, and Joe, who is more animated with the play-by-plays. Yeah, it's a nice combo. I did miss Tim Storm, who I don't know why he's not there. Jay said no explanation. She just wasn't there. Steve G asked, can Candy be an interview person? If you hear her talk, and she's on Instagram, she's got a good following as well. She talks really well, you know, so I don't know. I think there's a lot of options they could go to out there. Paladin points out Velvet's Working Impact's 1000th show on Saturday, and it's live. So perhaps booking has something to do with it. I can't imagine. The tapings are done, but maybe there was another option. I really liked the new camera shots as well. We saw it at 75, Dave, where, you know, behind us the camera would swoop down towards the entrance, and that sweeping kind of crane shot was pretty cool. They had that in the studio now. They also had some from underneath looking up at the ring, which is new. And, you know, when the fixers were in there, you could see a different, you know, angle as they work, like Legursky's working someone over in the corner, that type of thing. So the new camera shots are neat. I like the overhead cam, as I said, even when it's not sweeping it. I immediately thought of, the NHL or NFL cams that were kind of overhead and would sweep down the top of a field or a rink and kind of show you what's going on. Very cool. Hey, James H. Jackson is here, who I think he just posted on Twitter tonight that, you know, he started watching Power again, and can see the effort they're putting in. Velvet is doing some Impact stuff. She's going to be with Angelina Love in a Beautiful People reunion September 9th on Impact's 1000th episode. For all the old timers, will be on America's Most Wanted, etc., etc. Dodie says if Velvet returns to Impact, I won't miss her. NWA is better with or without her. So it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other for some of them. James says she's talking to people there to see they see what they have for available for her announcing there. Okay. Well, so a lot of changes. We talked about the lighting, the camera work, the rundown, the commentary, the way the crowd's set up, the interviews in front of the screen, the commercial, Sam Laterna, just kind of the way everything looks. I think everyone sort of thinks it's a general great improvement, and it was a big positive change. It's a nice visual way for the new era, the EC3 era, as Dave called it the other day, to kick off. Big fan of the new production. That's the good. On the bad, and I don't think J. Cal meant it so much as the bad, is just like, this is what it reminded me of, and I thought, oh my God, he's right. The colors, the camera angle, and the way the lighting was reminded me very much of what did he say? Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And I thought that's exactly it. It reminded me of, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And this guy right here wants to be a millionaire. I was like, oh, he's out. Never mind. He's like, no, I'm picking my nose. I don't know. Just doing a walk on. Glad you made it, buddy.
How goes it, guys?
Good. I think with Power, we're just talking about the new era of Power, and how Jay had said in our Discord, it looked like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire to a certain degree. But then Paladin brings up, my dad's a huge Irvine fan, and there's some stuff that I just saw Irvine, and I thought it kind of reminded me a bit of a darker version of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood or Car Shield or what have you. In that new era of lighting and production, and generally it was pretty positive, and I think everyone sort of feels it was generally pretty positive. What did you think?
Overall, I liked it. The pre-taped entrances, it's kind of wonky. I don't understand what the point of that was, unless it was just to help speed along the taping for the people that were there and having to be there.
Yeah.
But other than that, I liked it. I liked the new camera, that the new aerial camera that they've got, that we got to see some of for 75. I really like how they're using that. I don't really have any actual complaints about it, really. I'm quite hopeful.
Yeah, I'm hopeful too. And I kind of went through the list of all the good, right? The lighting, the cameras, the maybe the commentary, like the interviewer, like there's this whole studio look and everything. And it did kind of remind me of, like what Jay said, wow, it's Championship Wrestling. Suddenly it's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? That kind of stuck with me. If there is an ugly part for it, you just touched on it. I did not like the pre-recorded entrances. And there's been some people who've said, hey, I thought they were great. And I think that's great that they like it. But the Southern Six one especially really is when I realized, oh my God, they're pre-recorded. This isn't before the match.
Yeah.
It's not that everybody has music now. It's that there's music for everybody. And so there was some generic music for everything. Mm-hmm. And only some teams got entrances. And when I see the Outrunners didn't get one, right. Oh, that's and one of you guys are repeating on it. I can hear myself. Sorry. Just mute your mic for a sec, Jeremy. See how that works. Yeah, it's you. So when the Outrunners didn't get an entrance, but whoever they were facing last night did, it made me think, well, the Outrunners aren't going to win this one. You don't. When I was a kid and you used to go, guys, and watch WWF, they'd be like, and in this corner, it's Barry O. You go, oh, right. And now making his entrance to the ring, it's the Macho Man with all the pageantry. And you knew what was going to happen. And that's kind of what it felt like for me. But for the Southern Six, specifically, when they came to the ring, it felt like no one was in the studio. They've got the music over top. There's no sound. And then they cut to the match. And Thrillbilly's wearing a vest and an Angry Lemonade hat, but he isn't when he walks through the entrance, and it immediately took me out of it. I hated it immediately. I don't know. What did you guys think?
For the entrances, like I said, I didn't care for the pre-recorded part of it. I enjoyed the crowd. The crowd was very loud. I don't remember the crowds being that loud for quite some time.
I'm muted. Yeah, man. They were definitely into it. And I hope that the entrance thing works out, and I just shake it off and get used to it. But some people have been comparing those entrances where, it's the Southern Six, which was clearly pre-recorded, or they all were, where to like video game screens. And I remember some of the especially shitty video games in the early days where there'd be a loading screen and then it would come up and it would be like, here's the NWO, and then it would go down and you would reload to like the ring mat. And that's what it felt like. Did not care for it. Let me see here. Some of those entries look like bad slow motion 80s videos, music or not.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to pull that one up. I liked that one because that's kind of the vibe that I got from the Southern Six one.
Oh, we lost Dave entirely.
Oh, no.
I think you might have to turn your volume down. I can hear myself like I'm in my own ear. Mike says NWA now had good porno moonlighting. Hey, listen to this from James Bell. Last night's Power already had 25,000 views, which is much, much faster than typical Power episodes. Yeah, it is. That's great.
Oh, wow.
And that's something I wanted to kind of end on. Oh, no. You know what, Dodie? This is a blow to me. I actually said his name out loud today at work.
Oh, wow.
I was thinking about it on LKC, and oh man, that's too bad. We'll have to talk about that in the days ahead. What a fun talent. What a hated heel. Just one of those, foreign heels, as they used to call them, right, in America. Wow, that's too bad. Scott B. Hey, welcome, Scott. I didn't do so earlier. I did like the entrances sort of emphasize the studio feel. That's a good point. Yeah. So this is actually what I wanted to get to. The new era of the NWA is not only just we have a new presentation, we have upgraded camera and lighting, and equipment and a different way of directing and doing things. We've lost Dave again, but it's also we have a new world's champion, and this is on the back of EC3 retiring his buddy Tyrus, and we've often argued in the past that the Tyrus experiment was worth it. It was worth the attempt, I should say, just to clarify. But that in recent months we'd said, I think we've all come to the realization that it's failed. And I think part of this new era, isn't just the production, the direction, the styles of doing stuff. It has to be the king is dead, long live the king. And the company has put their efforts behind a guy who, as J. Cal pointed out in the Discord, by the time that that pay-per-view comes around in October, will have more title defenses under his belt than Tyrus did in his entire reign as champion. And I think if the YouTube watch views are that far along right now, if they're at $25,000 already, or dollars, 25,000 views already, Dave, and we've got this new production, we have a new champion who's well known around the wrestling landscape. It has to I think, probably be that we have to recognize that the failure of the Tyrus experiment is part of the reason why the new EC3 era is being so well received, right off the bat. Any thoughts on that?
I'm just, it was time to cleanse the palate. Billy owns it, but it's one of these things don't always work out the way you want them to. Him forcing it down people's throats and into their eyes and ears, it was just time for a change. I'm looking forward to the upcoming pay-per-view in October. I'm just hoping that they don't rush things with the Tom story. Give it time to breathe. That that him and EC3 have a past. It goes all the way back to TNA days. So if they can work things out and get some footage, do so. But they need to build up what they're building towards. That if EC3 is defending the title and is a defending champion, get some footage of the matches he's in and either put them just on social media or use it during the show. That, hey, your NWA champion defended the 10 pounds of gold against wrestler X.
Right.
Here's his entrance. Here's some of the match, and he was successful in retaining the gold. His next title match is whenever. Push these that you may not be able to see them on TV, but if there's something going on and EC3 is going to defend in Philadelphia, I'm an hour and a half away. I'll go see the NWA champion because I support the NWA. I support this champion. Nothing against Tyrus. He wasn't a wrestling champion. He was a champion because Billy made him champion.
Yeah. And in a long-winded, probably not clear way, what I was trying to say is it's a new era in part because the last era failed.
Yeah.
I still think it was worth the experiment, but I think part of the reason we're all feeling so giddy isn't just the new camera work and lighting, Jeremy. I think you're back.
Yeah.
But it's that Tyrus is gone.
And there's validity to that. Definitely. It was a divisive figure. There were people that didn't care for him for his politics. There were people that didn't care for him because he just couldn't go anymore. You had the fame to be a champion. You had the name recognition to be a champion. You could get the belt into a Super Bowl commercial. You could get it onto network cable television news every time you were on there. But for a wrestling fan, that's not enough. We need you to be able to wrestle like a champion as well as present yourself like a champion can. And Tyrus just wasn't able to do that for me. I could care less about his politics, care less about any thought that he's got in his head if it doesn't correlate with wrestling.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, his politics are definitively not my politics, but that has nothing to do with why I didn't like him. It was in the ring stuff.
Exactly.
Hey, Fuzzy, good to see you, buddy, so to speak. But he wasn't good in the ring. Just as you say, he didn't defend the title. He couldn't. He was busy elsewhere. It was an experiment and it didn't work. And I think that's part of the reason why there's jumping off point. People are like, oh, we got EC3 as champ now in the NWA. I'll turn that on. Oh my God, look. New lighting, new camera work.
Well, I think I don't remember who put it in the Discord, but someone said in the Discord that by time the Samhain pay-per-view rolls around, that EC3 will have defended the title as many times as Tyrus did his entire run.
It's true. Yeah.
He's doing everything that he said.
Our man Scotty B says, I think most NWA fans didn't care about his politics because they didn't like him as a wrestler.
Yeah. But politics was an easy crutch. What was an easy crutch to fall back on for him to justify why he has naysayers.
You know, and Mandy says, seems like the company has another chance with the fans, and hopefully Billy understands that. I'm sure this is part of whatever plan he's got. Do you think, Dave, this is going to be sustainable, or will the problems that maybe exist around booking in the NWA amongst the booking schedule, whatever problems might have hindered them in the past, do you think that that's likely to continue, or are we just hopeful for a new day here overall beyond the physical changes?
I'm hoping that they're able to view what they do taping wise and make adjustments on the next set of tapings. That it's one of these things of continuity is always a big thing. That if you're putting stuff together, notice that, hey, when the Southern Six came out, that Thrillbilly was wearing this. When he's in the ring, he's wearing this. It's little things that just that you're so used to them, you don't pay attention. That sometimes you just need a new set of eyes on things, and it's one of these things that all these wrestlers that work for the NWA, whether they're signed or just coming in and doing tapings and working as enhancement talent, they shouldn't be afraid to speak up. That if they see something that doesn't make sense to them in their head, they're the one that's in the ring. So if it doesn't make sense to a person that's performing, what's it going to do to people that are watching? It's the little details that you have to make adjustments on. And it's the small things that if they take care of the small things, everything hopefully comes together. And I don't mind a mistake here or there or a hiccup, but just the easiest thing to do is write down what you're going to do and follow the storyline.
Right.
If I don't know, if Thrillbilly is wearing a jacket, have him wear that jacket until the match starts.
Right.
Just for continuity's sake. It's one of these things that if you watch TV, you notice if something's off.
Right.
I mean, it's the small things, and that's what we usually pick at. It's the small things. It's not, oh, well, he missed a drop kick or he missed this. It's the things that are incidental, but
it's noticeable if you're paying attention. So it's just they're getting better. They just need one person to just do their continuity, to just go, okay, this is episode whatever. We're doing this, and this, and then make sure everything follows that.
Right.
If it doesn't, go back and refilm it. It's not live.
Right. Jeremy's just changed his name to The Devil's in the Details, and he's not wrong. What do you think, Jeremy?
We've said this since we've been doing this, that continuity is an issue for the NWA. The little details that they let slip past has been an issue with the NWA. I'm hoping that it's just that the pre-taped entrances are just for this season and this round of tapings, and that looking back they go, okay, yeah, that doesn't really it's working, but at the same time we could refine it and make it better.
Yeah,
they're this is a learning process for Billy. You know, he's gonna make mistakes along the way. He hasn't learned from all of them, but we are seeing that he is willing to make changes when needed.
right. You know, Steve G mentions that Tyrus was a hiccup that lasted way too long. You know, and like I said a minute ago, we've always kind of maintained that it was worth the experiment. DKM's always had a great, you know, to be fair to him, a great response to that, about how it was, you know, it was the television title was on him for a year. That was the experiment, you know, and probably the NWA should have learned something from that before putting the world's title on him. I've always found that a bit hard to refute. I think he has a pretty excellent point there.
Yeah.
But as Dodie says, hey, at least he held the title for less than a year.
He didn't break any records or anything like that. He didn't. Yeah.
No.
He made the list. He'll be on the list for history. That's congratulations, bro. You know, moving on. I wish you the best in all your future endeavors.
Scotty B says, arguably the best thing about last night's Power was wrestlers cutting promos before the live audience again. It was way overdue. Yeah, super refreshing.
Very.
Kyle Davis with blunt force trauma.
Blunt force trauma.
Who trained you on how to hold a microphone? You know,
Yeah.
like, that was great.
I will say that I do like the wine glass hold that he made Kyle do on that. I really dig that.
Yes, he's very funny, and I sometimes wonder what's he like not doing up in the E. You know what I mean? Like he's so good. I love him too. What's he doing here? We don't deserve it.
I would love to see him elsewhere, but I'm glad that we've got him. The man is on a different level.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Look, I do not want to pivot to CM Punk. I'd like this to be a 99% CM Punk free show, but I will say this for those of you guys who are talking, and thanks for talking about it in the chat. I like CM Punk as a talent. He's witty. He's intelligent. He's pretty okay in the ring. He's good. He's a great product. I just wanted to bring it up because if he comes to the NWA, like some of you guys are suggesting, maybe he should, I'll eat a fucking hat. There's 3 workplaces in the world that CM Punk will wrestle. The WWE, again, we're already talking about it. AEW, again, because nothing in wrestling is forever. Just ask Bret Hart who would never return after the Montreal Screwjob. Well, guess what? Or Japan. And Japan only for a very short term to get back to the other 2. He's not coming to Impact. He's not going to the NWA. The money doesn't exist. Like, people are saying, not in our chat right now, but just out there, like, well, he'd need a piece of the pay-per-view. No, he'd need a piece of the company. He might arguably need the company. I don't know what his deal is, but it's millions.
Yeah.
You pay millions for Punk. He's not coming here. He's not going to Independence. It's just forget it, and it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. But
and the other thing is this is a man that doesn't need the money at all.
Yeah,
he had a lucrative deal with WWE before he left there. He, in between WWE and AEW, he got signed up with Marvel and did a bunch of stuff with Marvel Comics, made a nice little mint off of that. And he's not, you see how the guy comes to the ring and everything. He's not driving around in Bugattis or wearing Rolexes or anything like that. You know, this is a guy that doesn't need the money. He just knows what he feels his worth is. I'm not going to say he knows his worth. He knows what he feels his worth is.
Right. I would add this, maybe you can chime in, Dave, but I don't know the wrestling business. I'm not backstage. I've never promoted. I'm not a booker, but I do know business, and I've managed people for 25 years or more now. And regardless of what everyone thinks about whether he was responsible, were the Bucks responsible, you know, is Tony a poor boss? The only outcome for CM Punk at AEW was to part company. It's the best thing for both of them. It's the only thing that business could have done.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to fight at work, and you got a boss who's not going to take care of it, allegedly. I mean, none of us were there. That's what you do. Everybody just, you got to go. You can't work here anymore. Anyway, forget CM Punk. I want to talk about something to all of you guys in the chat that for some reason in the last 48 hours has become near and dear to my heart. And that is the National Wrestling Alliance Hall of Fame. I saw, just looking up belt stuff, and, you know, people who had owned them a couple of days ago. He's pointing at me. He knows what I'm going to say.
I love this.
There is a NWA Hall of Fame that, like, you know, so-and-so who held this belt was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and, you know, whatever it was, 2010, and the NWA Hall of Fame in 2007. And I thought, I haven't heard much from the NWA Hall of Fame in the Lightning One era. And I looked it up. And when was the last time someone was inducted? Well, immediately sources differ, which is frightening. But the soonest that I could find was 2007, which means that in the Lightning One era, there have been no Hall of Fame inductees. And I looked further, and I can't find anything. I talked to Jay, and it seems like in recent years, before the Lightning One era, it was run by fans, but it's just not in existence anymore. Our friend Dodie says a Hall of Fame more or less froze since Billy took over the NWA. So, in the days ahead, within the next week, or on the outside, on our social media platforms, mine and the Alliance themselves, Jay's gonna help us out here. I would like you guys to join us in making an official friendly plea to the NWA to restore the NWA Hall of Fame. There are people, legends, who are not in the NWA Hall of Fame right now who deserve to be honored. Legends that we could see in the future are happening right now. You know, my wife said, like Camille, future Hall of Famer. You know, but not if the NWA never recognizes her. You know, Tim Storm, same way, right? But there are clearly legends from the last 75 years who, through whatever official endeavor, could be put into, through voting, perhaps, the Hall of Fame. I know how Hall of Fames work. It's a long story. But regardless of how the details go, I would like the NWA to restore the Hall of Fame, and I intend to create an online petition for everyone to, I would hope, sign for its restoration, and a friendly campaign over the next, say, 6 to 9 months. A plea. I don't want to berate the NWA. I don't want to demand William Patrick Corgan do anything. I want them to consider bringing back the Hall of Fame. It's a no-brainer for NWA 76.
Yeah.
See you, Fuzzy. Thanks for dropping by. As I mentioned, I'm going to create an online petition in the next 7 days. I'll drop it here next week. I'll put the links out. I hope you guys will join me and as part of the alliance for an alliance-driven, friendly plea to make the Hall of Fame come back and restore it to prominence. I don't know. What do you think, Dave? Jeremy, what do you think, Dave? Good idea? Bad idea?
I mean, you just look at the current NWA. You have Jax Dane, who is a Hall of Famer in my eyes. Tim Storm, Ricky Morton, even though you may not agree with him, still wrestling. He is part of the past, he's part of the present, and his son is part of the future. It's one of these things of, if we don't highlight these people, that's the problem. If you don't know about your past, you won't know about the future. That you may know Adam Pearce as only a guy that does the bidding of management in the WWE. Whereas if you look back and go, holy shit, I never knew about all these matches he had with Colt Cabana. If you can do a Hall of Fame, put people in the Hall of Fame, put matches in the Hall of Fame. It's right. One of the things, highlight your history so people know about it. You can pick and choose what your history is, sort of, but there's always going to be a fingerprint on the internet. So why not highlight this? Make it part of, I mean, if you've ever been to a WrestleMania, they have areas you can walk through that have, oh, look, it's Ric Flair's robes. It's all this. They highlight the past, present, and the future with these displays. That could easily be done at each anniversary show for the NWA. It's one of these things that it surprises me, with as much of a fan of wrestling that Billy is, that he hasn't resurrected the Hall of Fame for the NWA, which he owns. Granted, right. He'd probably pick and choose what goes in, but I'd rather see something than nothing.
No, I'd rather sit here a year from now and complain about someone going in or not going in than to not have an option. Like you just say, like there's nothing for him to go or not go into. But that's a great point. So, I mean, you got so Jeremy, here's something from Fuzzy, who just left the chat. Showtime at the Apollo would do a 30-second spot every show that spotlighted a Showtime legend. You know, even something like that. I will not do a petition site that makes you give information or ask you for money. I'll be very careful. James Bell says a Hall of Fame lynch. Hall of Fame. Oh, lunch. Great. On Saturday before night one of NWA 76 would be great. What an amazing idea. Dodie wants to see them work together with St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame, Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, the Fez and Tragos National Wrestling Hall of Fame, which I might go to next year, and the Cauliflower Alley Club. Yeah. These are ideas. Jeremy, 75 years of history. We are legacy. We are tradition. We are history. We do not have a Hall of Fame that's active.
It's fucking nuts, right?
It is.
I mean, you've got, like, to echo what Dave said, you've got Jack Stane, who is definitely an NWA Hall of Famer. You've got Ricky Morton, who I saw Doty point out that Ricky's already in as part of Rock and Roll Express as a whole, but he also is now doing a solo career and did have somewhat of a solo career here and there. So it would be good, and he's still making a contribution to the business in and outside of the ring, backstage and stuff. Yeah, and like Dave said, he's got Kerry now. So now he has a legacy that's going to carry on that Morton name in the NWA. So it would make perfect sense for him to go in. Then you've got people like Adam Pearce, who can't directly promote the NWA online and stuff, but are constantly uploading their past matches, putting over guys online that are up and comers that come through the NWA and stuff. You know, that's another, and he's on television now in the general manager's role for the Evil Empire. So that's another great candidate that you could possibly get to come in. I'm not saying that that's would be an easy thing to do, but I also don't see the WWE being like, no, you can't go into another Hall of Fame. That's not going to get anywhere near the recognition that our Hall of Fame gets at this point in time.
You know, and that's fine, right? Like, but I want to have these discussions. Like, should Ricky be on his own in the NWA Hall of Fame? Off the top of my head, no. But like, I want to have those arguments. He's a tag team guy,
right?
You know, I mean, I'm not a baseball guy, but I am a Canadian guy, and Tim Raines took him like a bunch of times to try to get into the Baseball Hall of Fame. And it's like, oh, will he make it? He was great. But like, was he great enough to actually make it? Mandy's point, who decides on the candidates? How do they get voted in? Well, different Hall of Fames do different things. Some of them are like, well, you know, Jack Stane, if you used baseball or hockey Hall of Fame rules, he couldn't be in the Hall of Fame yet. He's had to be retired for 3 to 5 years. And then they say, okay, how does he actually stack up after this time against other legends? You know, I think Wayne Gretzky, he was waived because it was clear that he was a Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer. There was voters, you know, there's the Associated Press, or there's you know, the Baseball Writers Association of America, I think they're called, something like that. But even if it's just Billy and he sits around with Pat Kenny and Kyle and Joe and Billy Trask and, you know, whoever, and says, what do you guys think about Ricky Morton going in as a solo? Great. I just want it established.
Yeah.
Doty says Adam's already, okay, great. If he wasn't, he would have been a perfect candidate, right? 5-time. He's not going to the WWE Hall of Fame, but he should be in the NWA Hall of Fame.
This is the WWE. They're pretty damn loose.
They are, but they also pick and choose.
Yeah, this is true.
So Doty's got a bit of a thing for this sort of stuff. This is why I love Doty. Work with the Dan Gable Museum. Held Chase for the anniversary pay-per-view. Hold a pay-per-view in Waterloo, Iowa, the birthplace of the NWA, with the Dan Gable Museum for a Hall of Fame celebration, and work with them to enshrine the Hall of Fame. So I'm a big NFL guy. I got a Philadelphia Eagles belt right here. Go Birds. But like, go to Canton, Ohio, which is what the NFL does, where the Hall of Fame is. They have a Hall of Fame game at, you know, once a year. They have a game right there at the Hall of Fame. We could have NWA could have matches once a year. Yeah, who else?
They could do the Crockett Cup there.
Well,
you could.
Yeah, I mean, Jeremy, speaking Crockett Cup, why not induct the Crockett family for everything that they've done? I mean, it's not just, I'm looking at it and going, okay, a wrestling Hall of Fame is cool, but without referees, without the promoters, you wouldn't have wrestling.
Yeah.
So each year, do maybe 3 wrestlers, a promoter, and maybe an announcer or a referee.
Right. And baseball has the builder's wing, right? It's the same thing. The guys who didn't do anything in the ring, but, they built this industry that the ring was put in, right? So,
Yep.
James Bell, can't you go back in NWA history and induct those that may have been overlooked and deserve a reconsider? Well, under many Hall of Fame rules, you have several chances. If you make more than 20% of the voters vote for you, but less than 80%, then you didn't make it, but you're still in there for a certain number of years. You get a few chances and then you're out if you don't make it.
Yeah.
But again, I don't want to focus on those particular details that the devil's in. I just want it restored. And then we can start arguing about whether or not, as fans, we should be allowed to vote for it. And I agree that we should. But we, as the Alliance, and I don't mean the 3 guys on the screen and Jay and DK and Jaden, I mean you guys in the chat, you guys within the sound of our voices who are all part of this, as much or more as we are. We are uniquely situated as the fans, the cheerleaders, and the guys and girls who throw their money into NWA pay-per-views and merchandise and events. We are the brand outside the brand, and I think it's behooves us as the Alliance family to say, hey, we have a request, and we'd really like you to consider it, because I want to go to NWA 76, and I want to see him, I want to see her, and I want to see them in the NWA Hall of Fame. So look out for that. And hopefully we'll be able to get that done.
And to touch a little bit on what you said, I had an opportunity to go back and watch night 1 and night 2 and actually watch them. And you guys, both nights were, and I mean this in the best way, the most raucous of anybody in the crowd. I knew I could hear you guys before I saw you guys on the screen. And I loved that. The energy that you guys brought, the crowd also fed into as well. Just as much as they did the wrestling, they also fed into you guys as well. And kudos to everyone that was able to be there in attendance and join the Alliance Summit.
Yeah, we had such a good time, and we look forward to doing it next year with you, my friend. And it was so engaging. Like, I think we all really loved it. Especially just like the seats that we got. It was awesome. So,
oh yeah,
we're going to create that petition. By the way, Dave, whatever you did to solve your streaming problems, you are 100 times clearer right now than you were in the last week or two. So fantastic. You sound so good right now.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. That's what we'll leave it for the NWA until we come back in a few minutes and let Dave fantasy book out some Camille stuff. Let's go over to MLW right now for a quick rundown from Dave Scooby about MLW Fury Road. Give me 1 second to push this.
We are MLW. The ultimate stage where fighting styles compete for greatness and gold, where styles make fights. This is Major League Wrestling.
Wow. Dave, this past weekend, it wasn't Fusion, it was Fury Road, seeing our, NWA longtime favorite, Willie Mack, your former NWA National Heavyweight Champion, taking on Alex Kane in the main event for the MLW World Title. Tell us about the event.
This was roughly just about 2-hour pay-per-view or prime event. They had just enough matches to keep things interesting and give you some time to digest what was happening, but yet move on to the next match. There were two main events. It was a double main event. The main event number one opened the show. It was the National Open Weight Championship on the line with Jacob Fatu defending against Ricky Shane Page in a weapons of mass destruction. This was basically a good old ECW hardcore match. Now, if you didn't have a chance to see it, it is on Fight. I'm not sure what they charge. I myself watched it again just to see the different angles, because once you're when you're seeing it from a seat in the crowd, it's good, but to be able to follow the match around the ring and into the crowd, it was a very good match. Now, Ricky Shane Page is a hardcore wrestler. His first defensive move was to dismantle the top rope. He took the top rope off to prevent any high-flying offense from Fatu. But even without the top rope, Fatu took control and ended up shoving his head in a toxic waste container. And in doing that, Page also had Akira, his tag team partner, ran out for interference. This being a hardcore match, there's no DQ. So having outside interference, it does nothing but help whoever the wrestler is that they're interfering for. The trick worked. Page planted Fatu for a DTT, and Page is a new National Openweight Championship. Now, Page and Akira are tag team partners, and on the screen you can see him right there. That's Akira. He is the middleweight champion and part of the tag champions. It's one of these things of, it was a very hard hitting fight, and they're part of the Calling, which is Raven's group. There's two major groups now in MLW that are taking over. The Boombaye Fight Club.
Boombaye, Boombaye, Boombaye.
Their champion, he's part of that group. And the Calling. Now, all the Calling is missing is somebody to go after that heavyweight championship. But, I mean, Fatu losing really doesn't do him harm. He's a beast in the ring and out of the ring. He's one of the top draws in MLW. Now, myself, I wasn't expecting a title change. It totally shocked me. But
same here.
I mean, it's one of these things that it's almost that they're going groups holding titles are the thing, because you have backup, and it's not just a single person holding that title, that you automatically have backup with your group backing you. Now, MLW does bring in quite a few Japanese wrestlers. Now, the next wrestler they brought in was Maki Ito, and this was a battle of pop princesses. She battled Becca, who ended up defeating her to earn a women's title shot against the featherweight champion Del Miexo.
I just want to say two things here. One, these photos Dave took himself, but this picture right here was just such a great shot. If you look in the background on the screen with the heart,
yeah,
it's a sharp contrast. Sorry, carry on.
But this was it was a very good mixture of styles, and as they wrestled, they also were singing on the mic. Becca was basically doing almost play-by-play in between some of the moves she was doing. to me, this is just a good fight. It was a mixture of styles. It definitely was not a scientific match. It was, I mean, you had a rolling Death Valley driver and a 450 splash for Becca to win. Maki's star presence, it just shone bright, and she didn't need to win this match. She is elevating Becca towards the belt, which Delmy holds. Now, I'm hoping at this next pay-per-view coming up at the middle of October that they do some more. They're very light on a women's roster, but they do feature some undercards when they do their fusion tapings, but they have just enough to keep you interested. It's not a lot, but I mean, being that they're in Philadelphia, they push a lot of the hardcore style. Now, speaking of different styles of matches, the NWA's Matt Cardona is also with MLW. He's a free agent, and he was brought in. He was victorious in his debut there. It was a Kiss My Foot match against Mance Warner. Now, Mance had momentum going for the pin, but Mr. St. Laurent placed Cardona's foot on the ropes to prevent the count. And in doing that, the referee saw what happened and ejected MSL, ejected him, sent him to the back. And in that time, Cardona took advantage of the distraction. He hit radio silence, hit the leg lariat to beat Mance Warner. And this was a Kiss My Foot match. So instead of kissing his foot, Warner ended up biting Mr. St. Laurent's foot. Matt Cardona he took a beating during the match, but in doing so, there was very good back and forth. Now, in getting the win, both wrestlers were very over. Cardona, I can just say he gets it. He knows how to work the crowd. And Mance and the second gear crew are big without being in the upper tier of wrestlers. They're just over. They're just good old boys, and they relate well with the crowd. And they're where they need to be. Down the line, I can see them moving up, but you need some strong wrestlers in the mid card. And it's one of these things that they lose nothing. Warner loses nothing in losing to Matt Cardona, who is a bigger name coming in as a free agent to MLW. Now, this next match, it was a clash of styles. It was Hot Sauce Tracy Williams, formerly of Ring of Honor, against Ichiban. Now, Williams is a very technical mat wrestler. Ichiban relies on speedy flurries of offense. He is a lucha-style wrestler. But just when Williams thought he had the edge, Ichiban exploded for a surprise jumping flatliner. Now, Ichiban is very over with one chance throughout the matches. So when he jumps up and he's pounding away on Williams, he's doing 10 fists to the forehead. Usually it's 1, 2, 3. Well, the crowd is just every hit. It's 1, 1. Ichiban is number 1 in Japan, in Japanese. Ichiban means number 1. So he's basically living up to the name. He's a very good wrestler. There was a little size difference, but with the speed and the technical wrestling of Tracy Williams, it wasn't an awkward clash of styles. It mixed well in that they would go from spot to spot, and it told a good story. Now, Tracy Williams, if you've never seen any of his matches, go look back on some of his matches online back in ROH. He and Rhett Titus have tagged, and it's amazing what he can do as a wrestler. He can wrestle just about any style of match, and it doesn't look awkward. Now, they also had the Forbidden Door open from New Japan Pro Wrestling. Kushida ended up wrestling Tony Deppen. Deppen is also a former ROH wrestler who is now wrestling for MLW. It was a very competitive contest. A lot of roll-ups and counters. If you don't know, Kushida, he's known as the time splitter. His gimmick is basically Marty McFly and Back to the Future. He is a very technical wrestler.
That's awesome.
And it's just, it's amazing what he can do. And him versus Tony Deppen was just, it was a good match. It highlighted both wrestlers, and I don't think it hurt either one. Whereas Tony Deppen's coming out, giving you the one finger wave. He's just, the crowd ate him up, and he basically just went in, did his thing. And it was a very good competitive match. It was a good mixture of technique, high flying moves, but they did a lot of mind games and a lot of physicality in both of these matches. Now, if you've watched MLW going back to before COVID hit back in 2019, Selena De La Renta, she's returned. She was a surprise guest for Sessions by the St. Laurent Talk Show. She's basically taking over. I'm not really sure what happened to Cesar Duran. He just sort of up and disappeared mysteriously. And that
I'm
was
glad she's back.
The Lucha Underground. So it's one of these that she said she's back to bring top luchadors to MLW. And she has a thirst for gold, and she's going to capture some gold. So we'll see what happens. Now, to close out the show, it was Alex Kane in his first defense. He is the MLW heavyweight champion against Willie Mack. And this was just a knockdown, drag-out fight for the heavyweight championship. It was roughly about 20 minutes, a lot of back and forth, a lot of suplexes. And if you're wondering, what's the deal with the suplex thing? Well,
Suplex Assassin.
Suplex Assassin. That is Alex Kane. He lives up to the name. I mean, what they do in the ring is amazing for guys their size. You look at Willie Mack, and you're like, that guy doesn't look like he could do a slingshot plancha over the ropes. Well, yes, he can, and yes, he did. I mean, it's amazing some of the moves these guys do. They mix it up. And MLW is the buffet of wrestling. It's a mix of styles. You'll see anything and everything from technical to hardcore to lucha. It's a little bit of everything for everybody.
Right.
Now, after Mac goes outside on the slingshot plancha, on coming back in, Alex Kane kicked the ropes, and Mac's boys felt the jiggle of the ropes. And in doing so, he fell into the ring. A couple more suplexes, a spear. Willie Mack ends up answering with a sky-high spine buster. A lot of high-impact moves for guys these size. Tons of suplexes, live up to the suplex assassin moniker. Alex Kane went in for the choke, and Mack was just inches from the ropes, but he could never quite reach the ropes. He finally ended up being choked out, passed out, didn't respond. The referee called for the bell. Kane's still your champion. After the match, Kane put over Mack on the mic, and basically it's, hey, I wasn't sure what you were up to, but you've gained my respect. They ended up having a shake of the hands. Mack shouting out, "Boomaye." It was a very good pay-per-view. If you have a chance to go watch it on Fight, do so. MLW has put a lot of effort on putting the strap on Kane, and I thought there's a possibility Mack could pull off the upset, but I'm not sure if Mack is just playing along or if he's actually going to join the Fight Club.
I was going to ask, yeah.
But I mean, they sort of parted ways, but they shook hands and had a respect for each other. So we'll see what happens. Kane can bring the action in the ring. He does a lot of the suplexes, living up to his nickname. A very good on the mic, and the Fight Club. It gives you the energy of a big fight feel. It's almost, I'd say almost. I mean, Don King is his backer, so it gives me a boxing feel. That any of the boxers that have their group with them, they come out for the match, they're hyped up, they hype up the crowd. It's very good. It's a good thing in seeing this happen. Now a final note, Minoru Suzuki, he's coming to MLW at Slaughterhouse, which is October 14th. That's basically going to be hardcore heaven. It's a Halloween hardcore pay-per-view. Now, New Japan is partnering with MLW, which I like, that if they send some wrestlers over, they may show up in MLW for a taping. They may be in Game Changer. They may be in AEW. But it's one of these things that it's great seeing all these different types of wrestlers, and I'm glad I'm able to actually be there live to see them, because it's one of these things of, they might not be my favorite wrestler, but it's a different style of wrestling, and to be able to see somebody that you're not familiar with, it's one of these things of make me a fan. And I mean, it's amazing what some of these people can do in the ring. Now, Fury Road was a solid just over 2 hours of entertainment. And like I said, it went from hardcore to classic wrestling, comedy here and there. They ended up doing some fusion tapings. I'll make mention of some of the matches, but I won't give any spoilers. But this was, I'm not going to say a changing of the guard, but there were quite a few people that, if you've watched MLW, they're mainstays. There was no Hammerstone at this pay-per-view. No Davey Boy Smith Jr. The Samoan SWAT team, Juicy and Lance were not there. Microman wasn't there. They're building up others so they don't always have to depend on certain people. They're down to now doing monthly tapings, or at least every 5 weeks they're doing tapings. So it's one of these things that if you want to watch Fusion, they have a YouTube channel. You can just go MLW Fusion on YouTube and just subscribe to that. It's shown Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern time, but you can watch it anytime. It's one of those things. It's different. So just, if you like a certain kind of wrestling, that's cool. This is all kinds of wrestling. This is buffet wrestling, a little bit of everything. And I've grown to like it. I probably like about 80% of it. Some of it, it's still growing on me. But being that I like the original ECW, there's not much that ECW didn't do. So when MLW does something new and innovative, I'm like, wow, they're going back and using some of the ECW stuff, but putting their own twist on it. But the Fusion tapings, Little Guido from ECW, he was in a match with Love Doug, one called Manders, and Matthew Justice, the Second Gear Crew. They faced the Collins Talon and Cannonball. It was a tornado tag team match, and it was insane. If you haven't seen Cannonball, this guy is just huge. I'm like, he may not be able to move fast, but get out of his way because he is a cannonball. If he falls on you, you're not getting up. Akira had a couple matches. He had a match against Matthew Justice for the middleweight title. And also he faced Jimmy Lloyd in another street match. And Akira is, some of the stuff he does is just amazing. He does hardcore matches, but he's also a high flyer. He'll get down and dirty, a lot of outside the ring. It's just, he tells a very good story in the ring. Cardona also wrestled the one called Manders. Ichiban was out there, a couple high flyers, him and Nolo Katana. Alex Kane versus Snitsky. It was a non-title match, but Snitsky, if you remember from WWF, he came out. There was no baby to be found, but for a guy close to 50, he can still go. There was a women's match, Kira James and Zeta Steele. It was a shorter match, but I mean, it was a good match overall. TJ Crawford, Kevin Blackwood, and Alex Price had a three-way match. These guys are high flyers, and I mean, a lot of 2-on-1 and then turning on your partner that you just partnered up with to beat the hell out of the other guy. It was very good. They have the main event, which is a wrestling lion and a basically a guy from the circus with his lion, a lion tamer. Faced Mr. Thomas and Jay Bougie from Bombay Fight Club.
I'm sorry, a wrestling lion?
A wrestling lion, yes.
Like an actual lion?
Well, a wrestler with a lion mask on.
Ah, okay, all right. I'm in now. All right. I'm like, I'm sorry, they brought a lion out?
Yeah, well,
okay, cool.
Yeah, and it's the name of the tag team is the main event.
Okay.
So MANE as in a lion's mane. But
right.
The fusion tapings, that'll cover probably the next 3 or 4 weeks. But if you have a chance, check it out. It's something different. I'd say there was a good strong 600 to 700 people there. It was on a Sunday night. It was an early taping due to the fact of, I guess, AEW. I think they had like the pay-per-view on Sunday. I'm not sure. I really don't follow AEW that much. But it's something, if you have a chance to either watch MLW or they're talking about going to, I believe, do some Canada runs, as I guess they're also possibly going to be working with some of their wrestlers also work with Impact. So if they're able to partner up and do some Impact Wrestling versus MLW, that's just talks. But who knows? I mean, the more people that work together, the better. It was just one of these things of, it's a different style of wrestling. If you're used to just the NWA or if you're used to AEW, it's completely different. I'd give it a try. And I mean, if you like it, you like it. Or if you just like one match, or if you just like one wrestler, it's whatever you like. It's just different. I actually like it because it is that different. It's not, oh, all our guys are 6'2", 250 pounds. We got blonde haired guys. We got a couple bald guys with goatees. We got this, we got this. Oh, then all the women have, we have a blue haired girl. We got a red haired girl. And we've got a couple of teams that wear masks. And we've got this and we've got this. They have a wide variety of wrestlers. They have some that are in tremendous shape. They have some like Cannonball, who is 400 plus pounds. And if you know the size of Wrecking Ball, he makes Wrecking Ball look small. So it's one of those things of a lot of different wrestling types and styles. Give it a chance. If you don't like it, you're not losing anything because it's on YouTube. It's free. So you can go back. I mean, there's tons of episodes. Right now, they're in a changing of pace. We're moving to a different champions. We're moving to a different style. They have more of a wrestling group mentality than singles wrestlers now. But it's one of these things of just give it a shot. I mean, it's an hour of your time. If you want to fast forward, you can fast forward, or just click in MLW Fusion. And if you want to see Matt Cardona, type in MLW Matt Cardona. His match will come up.
Right.
So it's one of these things of just, hey guys, give it a try. So it's just whatever floats your boat.
Yep. Dave, comprehensive and complete. Thank you so much. I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. It's a great product. You know, it's hybrid wrestling where styles meet. That's their deal. And if the one thing I can add that I like about it the most, I know I've said this to you, is Bombaye Fight Club are the best faction in pro wrestling today. They give you the sense not only of realism and plausibility. They are exactly what they say they are, right? They're a
Yep.
fight club.
Yep.
And they come to the ring as a fight club. They move as a fight club. They react like a fight club. I dig it all the way through. Thank you so much for that, my friend. We'll come back to you in a few minutes after our friend Jeremy takes us into the latest from the UWN, and this one's a little special and different in his segment Championship Wrestling from Jeremy.
I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
The following is a presentation of the United Wrestling Network.
It's time for Championship Wrestling from Jeremy.
Well, our friend Jeremy, tell us what's going on in the United Wrestling Network this week.
Well, this week we've got a match from Memphis Wrestling. We've got Dirty Dango versus Uncle Mikey. This wasn't a traditionally fantastic match or anything like that. It was just a good all-around match. Dango came out, made his way through the crowd. At one point, he walked back and grabbed a sign that said, "I love Dirty Dango." And when he finished walking around the ring, he went up to Dustin. He asked the girl who had the sign if she had made it, and she said yes. And then he proceeded to rip the sign up and even shoot on it some. That was gross. I threw up a little in my mouth at that point. He had no idea where that sign had been, but he's Dirty Dango, so I digress. I did notice that he has a Luke Harper, yeah tattoo on his right or on his left bicep, and I appreciated that. I thought that was really cool. He got the usual cheap heat insulting the town and the talent, but it totally worked, and the crowd bought into it hook, line, and sinker. Uncle Mikey comes out, and the crowd pops. Dango says he's not wrestling a homeless man. Mikey then proceeds to get a sign from someone in the crowd that says Uncle Mikey on one side, and on the other side, condoms prevent skimahorns. Wrestling is truly high art.
Wow.
The match is a bit of silly. It was also a lesson in basic wrestling and crowd work, though. Both men got the reactions that they wanted when they wanted them. They had the crowd invested and involved and didn't have to do any big spots or long sequences or anything. The entrances and match totaled 12 minutes and some change. In the end, Mikey got a sneak roll up on Dango, and Dango was getting back in the ring. To still a huge win. The crowd popped. Mikey looked shocked. Dango was dumbfounded, and at some point, one has to think Uncle Mikey has to be in discussion for a title shot, right?
I think, man, and good on Dango for just coming in, taking the payday, putting Mikey over, and he loses nothing, right? Mikey looks good.
Yeah, and that's what you want a guy to do. You know, you come in, you raise a little bit of hell, you get into it with one of their top guys, you look up, you see the lights, collect your check, go to the next town. You know, and he lost nothing in that loss. You know, it was a sneak roll up. Could have happened to anybody on any given Sunday.
Right.
Just so happened to happen to him. Then we go to Derby City. We got matches this week from Zicky Dice facing off against Bryce Saturn. The tag teams of technical difficulties against Myron Reed and Mickey Midas, who formed the Brotherhood. A throwback match from Primetime Live between friend of the Alliance, Ruby Reyes, and Cece Chanel. And in the main event, we got Rocco Bellagio versus DePope, Elijah Burke. It was a solid show from start to finish. And with that said, I want to bring this up and show this and read this to everyone. This was brought to my attention by Tim. It's from David Marquez posted this on his Facebook post, and it starts off with friends. In 30 years, I've never asked you, the public, for anything but support of our projects. Many of you have purchased tickets to our events and bought our talents merchandise, and those dollars are appreciated. But unfortunately, it's not enough to keep things moving. Not even the $1 million plus we generate a year in advertising is enough to progress. In the following weeks, I will be coming to you and asking you to invest in our future with a crowdfunding campaign. I've tried banks, millionaires, billionaires, famous people, and not one of them get pro wrestling. But I feel you, the people who follow me and enjoyed all the entertainment I produced or had a big hand in producing, your words, not mine, do understand this genre. It's time to take the leap and make that big step. I hope my assumptions are correct and you will elect to participate. I have helped scores of people achieve their dream. Now it's time for me to achieve mine. Thank you all in advance. They just opened up Derby City. And as I stated in the Discord, and I mean this with no type of any bad thing or anything, but Arizona had to close down, and then you tried to start up Atlanta and things just didn't hit right there, and you closed that one down. With the championship wrestling from Car Shield and then the Derby City, with the tapings and the way that you're airing them now, you're airing a month or so's worth of Derby City, and then we get a month or so's worth of championship wrestling from Hollywood. I'm sure that is by design to an extent to help get over Derby City. And I'm not a financial guy in any way, shape, or form. I am definitely not a businessman. I don't know how any of that works. But I do know that I enjoy the product that David Marquez puts out each and every week. I enjoyed the flourishes that Marquez was able to get in with NWA whenever they first started. And that was my first introduction to David Marquez. I had no idea that he did anything, that he had his own wrestling promotion at that time. It wasn't until I got to talking to you guys in the Alliance, J. Cal, and listening to his podcast, The Alliance Guys and stuff, that I found out that David Marquez is steeped in this business that we love to talk about week in and week out. I don't know what the future holds for the UWN. I would ask all of you that are in the chat and that listen to this in the future to keep your eyes peeled on social media and what David Marquez has to post up. And if you can, donate anything towards it. I'm sure it would be more than greatly appreciated. I know that I will be to whatever capacity that I'm able to, because this is a man that does get the business as a whole, from the booking to what you see on the screen in front of you. That's all Marquez. That's not him solely. It's people following his orders and direction. But that is a man that understands this business probably better than anybody going right now. And I don't say that with any hyperbole or exaggeration or anything. I truly feel that David Marquez is probably the most intelligent wrestling promoter that we have at the moment. Again, no hyperbole, no exaggeration on that. That's how I truly feel. With that said, great show this week on Derby City. Go watch it. If you're not watching, eat rocks.
I think you've nailed everything we need to talk about when it comes to this right now, because anything that we would be saying would be speculating beyond what we're reading on that Facebook post.
Right.
So let's hope it's a positive turn. And I don't know Mr. Marquez, obviously, but like you, I love his product, and maybe there's opportunity here for wrestling fans and to help create. I mean, Dave Marquez, as we all know, just look at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, presented by CarShield, whatever it might be. Look at Derby City. It's the best, independent promotion productions on television. So I think there's opportunity for us to support an amazing product and help the UWN get even stronger. And we should probably leave it there until we hear more and the details and what's behind it and where our money would go. And just, like Jeremy says, support him and wish the UWN the best.
Yep, just keep a lookout on his social media posts and stuff, and he everything that I've seen of Marquez, the man's an open book. He is willing to talk to you about whatever, So I'm sure that this was probably his very last. Well, I don't want to. I don't want to speculate anything. Yeah. Just keep an eye out. And if the opportunity does arise, we're all wrestling fans. And if you're going to sit here and tell me that you haven't ever wanted to own a piece of a wrestling company in some way, shape, or form, you're a fucking liar.
Yeah. I got a good friend who's a big Green Bay Packers fan, and his prized possession in life is his one share of the Green Bay Packers. He put money in. He's like, he got that thing framed on his wall. So.
If I was a Packers fan, or if I had the opportunity to do that for my Dirty Birds, I'd take my one share and support the Falcons.
Here's what James H. Jackson Jr. says. I'm like Jeremy. UWN is my favorite wrestling stuff, even over the NWA. I will be doing all I can to donate, volunteer my spare time and helping. I watch every week. Attaboy, James. Appreciate it, Jeremy. We look forward to seeing how that one goes. Let's run it into the end zone right now on a football analogy that I try to shoehorn in there. As Dave brings it home with some fantasy booking in our segment we like to anchor the show with, called "I Respect You, Booker Man." Couldn't get the NWA logo up in there. There we go. Getting better though. Getting better. Dave.
Yes.
After, I'm going to say 813 days seems right. The
yes.
reign the reign of the one-time champion, the Brick House, Camille, came to an end at NWA 75 at the hands of Kenzie Page of Pretty Empowered. And now you've opened up the fantasy book to ask what's next for Camille.
Yes. Like you said, 813 days as the holder of the Burke, the NWA Women's Champion, the one time. So what becomes of Camille? I haven't heard any spoilers out of the tapings, and I've talked to several people, and I didn't want spoilers. I want to be a fan. All I know is Tom has won 7 matches as TV champion, and he's looking to go after EC3 and the 10 pounds of gold. Does Camille revert back to being an insurance policy for Tom in his quest for the 10 pounds of gold? I'm not sure. Camille really hasn't said that much online, or you can actually read between the lines. She's posted 813-day reign, number one time. What's next? And people are like, oh, you're going to NXT? No, she didn't put NXT. She put what's next. She's carried the NWA for almost 2.5 years?
Yep.
As the holder of the Burke, the women's champion. Maybe it's time to have her build up some other talent besides singles wrestlers. Maybe have her tag up and go after Pretty Empowered, seeing that part of Pretty Empowered took the belt from her. She had 2 nights. She wrestled both nights. She wrestled Markova in a hell of a hardcore match. Then she ended up wrestling Kenzie and losing, but not without effort. It was time for a change, I think, because there were no other challengers for Camille at this time. So it's time to rebuild, have her possibly tag up. If she has any friends that wrestle, maybe have her tag up with some of the new wrestlers that showed up for the gauntlet. Because besides Pretty Empowered, all you have is M95. We need some teams, some tag teams. Maybe you have Ruthie J tag up with her and they win a few matches. But if they lose, it's Ruthie J picking the loss to keep Camille strong for a second run at the gold if she wants to. But it's one of these things. In my mind, before watching Power this week, I'm thinking, hey, what do you think about Markova? They've had 4 or 5 matches. They know each other. Sometimes your best enemy is your best friend. Have them be the frenemies. Tag them up, go after. But right now, it looks like Markova is possibly going after Max and the TV title. But use Camille to help build some of these other ladies that are wrestling.
I think that's really smart. You're like, what better way to keep the brick house than to have her dismantle somebody like a group like Pretty Empowered? Like, yeah, it's like an action movie, kind of the way you sort of laid it out there a minute ago. Like, the John Wick, right? Remember they broke into his house, they killed his dog. There was 5 of them, and then there were 4, and then there were 3, and he just kind of dismantles everybody as he goes up to, I don't know, I guess, does Kenzie Page, where she end up, or does Ella Envy and Kylie, is that where she ends up? What do you think?
I mean, it really depends on how they want to tell the story. That
Yeah.
She can either go after with a tag team partner, and it's one of these things that I'm only tagging with you because they won't let me wrestle by myself against this team. So I'm using you, and hey, there's an upset, but it's not for the title belts. It's a non-title match, and they win, surprisingly. Yeah. So it sets up something down the line. Either she has a new tag partner, she turns on that tag partner, something. Yeah. But I'm wondering what's going to happen. Maybe it's just time for her to step back and be with Tom for this point in his career as he goes after the 10 pounds of gold, that she reverts back to the insurance policy. So nobody messes with Tom. There's no outside interference. I have no real clue if EC3 has any CYN or people that he actually deals with that are female wrestlers that can partner up, and instead of going after just the title, it becomes if you win this match and this match, I keep putting people in front of you. Who knows what's going to happen, but she had a hell of a run, and if she wants to take a break and just be an insurance policy and not have to get into the ring, more power to her. I mean, she's gained all my respect.
There, you said in the beginning, she's done everything. What else is there to do? You got to have this different tact with her because you don't want to lose her. You don't want her to diminish. It's one of those, I don't want to, it's a bit heady, but that old quote, I'll get it wrong. Something about, Alexander wept because there were no more worlds to conquer. Like, she's done everything, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of wondered too, if I were reforming something like, or making a group like Strictly Business, do you think Camille, even if she were the only female member in the group, could lead a faction of her own, even if it were, as I say, like everyone else was men, to dismantle the stuff she didn't care about in the NWA anymore?
I mean, I think she can do whatever she wants to do. It's basically the NWA is starting over, with the exception of Tom still being the TV champ. But him being the TV champ, the storyline is he won the 7th match. He's now going to go for the 10 pounds of gold.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
She can be the insurance policy. She can wrestle, whatever. I mean, you look at DX and what they did with China.
Yeah.
That if they want to do, I'm not saying do intergender, but look at who you have wrestling in the NWA now. There's nobody for her to go after, female wise. And I mean, you have Max, who is non-binary, holding a women's title. Who knows? I mean, they're blurring the lines. So I think if Camille would go after the TV title, that would be a step down. And Markova has bid her due and done everything that's been asked of her in the NWA, that I think she will be your next TV champion down the line. But give Max the 7 to then go after her. Give her the 7 wins to go after Kenzie, because it's just one of these things that they have to build to something and make those titles mean something. Don't hot shot them and I mean, if it's going to be hot shotting, make it at least, oh, I won 5 of the 7, and then the 6th person, oh my God, they won. We have a new TV champion.
I have one last question for you.
Okay.
Can an NWA television champion, like if on a, this is a bizarre angle here. Let's say she goes, I'm going to take the television title, and that's my road back to a world's championship. She just leaves it as a world's championship, and wins 7 in a row. Would it be a good angle or a bad angle? I think I've asked you this before, actually. For someone like Camille to say, here's my world television title, I'm cashing it in, and I'd like my shot at the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship now, please. What do you think about the idea that, well, nobody said I had to cash it in for a shot at the World Women's title.
Yeah.
That's not in the rules. Could you see her intergender wrestling to the other side? Like, she's been that dominant. I wonder if that's possible.
Yes, and I believe she's had a couple intergender matches out on the independents, but I mean, it's one of these things. She's just a wrestler.
Yeah.
She may be female, but I mean, it's one of those things that if you don't respect her just as a wrestler, not, oh, she's a good wrestler for a girl.
Right.
She's just a good wrestler. It's
100%.
one of those things of, I mean, Tessa Blanchard was champion in Impact. Hey, equality. It may be the heavyweight championship, but it doesn't say the men's heavyweight championship. It is the world's heavyweight championship.
It's true. I'm not sure I'd hate it. So, yeah, great thoughts, Dave. I guess we're going to see where it's going to go over this particular season, and whether or not we see much or little. Does she fade into the background, like you suggest maybe she might, or does she find a new direction and keep the dominant spirit that she's got alive? And I think that being that, guys, and thank you, Dave, is that. I think we've come to the end. My wife is patiently waiting for me nearby here. So thank you guys for tuning in. This was honestly, I don't know why it's the new age of the NWA or just, something interesting and new with the UWN. We got a whole MLW segment all in the same show. It's been one of my favorite ones. So thanks for being here, guys. I really appreciate it. Let's talk to me about the social medias. Jeremy, where are they going to find you on online?
You can find me at HJWOTS on the Twitter Bird app. You can find me at Championship Wrestling Jeremy on Blue Sky and Threads.
I will put that on. And
you can find me at, I believe it's Championship Wrestling, or no, it's WORM5559 at YouTube.
Yeah, I think you can change those too if you want.
I will have to look into that because, yeah.
I mean, I don't want to give it away, but you had a certain interview with a certain someone. Are we going to see that in the future?
Yes, that will be coming out very soon.
All right, great. Yay. How about you, Dave?
You can find me at Dave Scooby on Twitter /X and on Instagram and over on TikTok at Dave Scooby, the number 1.
And I am at the Alliance blog, or no blog. I am at the Alliance Gold on all the social media platforms. There's so many. I might just dump threads. There's no engagement there yet, so I don't know. But anyway, but most importantly, alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information around the National Wrestling Alliance and other various independents around the world. And at the Alliance blog on all of the social media platforms, even ones that haven't been created yet. They're already on it. So tomorrow night, you've got J-Cal, DKM, and Jaden. They are the guys who started this like 15 years ago or whatever crazy amount of time it's been. They're the masters of this platform and the NWA. They may run down the details of Power, which I'm sure they will, it being a new era, and go through all of the matches that we didn't look at tonight. And then, of course, Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, it's the pre-party. It's the hour before Power with the boss.
Too sweet to be sour.
That's right. So until next time, thank you all for being here, and we will see you at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog, and until next time, we are The Alliance.